The faucet had been leaking again. It was the third time this month, fourth if you count the mysterious case of the burst pipe last fall that supposedly required 2 emergency visits while I was conveniently out of town. The plumber, according to my wife, just knew our house so well now it didn't make sense to call anyone else. That plumber's name? Rick. Rick the Reliable. Rick the Repiper. Rick the man who apparently had an eternal contract with my plumbing and, though I didn't know it yet, my marriage. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me rewind to the day it all began to smell wrong. And I'm not talking about the drains. It was a Thursday. I remember because Thursday was grocery day, and I was staring into our fridge like it owed me rent money. Milk, expired. Strawberries, growing their own beard. And almond yogurt, the one Ashley liked, sealed and untouched for 2 weeks. She'd switched to something else, she said. But she never said what. Ashley, my wife of 7 years, had started moving differently lately. Not just her routine, her body, like her center of gravity, had shifted. She floated in and out of rooms with a new perfume, one I didn't recognize. She started humming again, but not our song. Just little tuneless melodies under her breath, like someone who had a secret and needed to let it out in pieces. Then came the receipts. A small stack of them, buried under napkins in the glove compartment of her car. 2 from a place called the Bramble Inn, a boutique hotel downtown with suspiciously high hourly rates for such a quaint little place. One had a time stamp that overlapped perfectly with her claim of a late team meeting. Another was signed, yes, signed, in loopy cursive. Thanks again, Rick. Rick. I assumed it was the waiter. I assumed a lot back then. See, when you're married long enough, you build up this trust account. Every "I love you" is a deposit. Every movie night, every shared Amazon password, every inside joke, it's all credit. So when something feels off, your first instinct isn't suspicion. It's self-doubt. She wouldn't lie. She's just tired. Maybe I'm being paranoid. But the thing about trust accounts? One leak can drain the whole thing. And mine was about to burst. It started with that damn faucet. Again, Ashley was in yoga pants and a tank top, pacing the living room with her phone pressed to her cheek. I had just walked in, still carrying 2 bags of groceries. I heard her giggle, not the cute kind. The kind that's a little too breathy, a little too intimate. Then I heard her say, "No, you always fix it just right." She turned when she saw me, face freezing like I'd caught her practicing crime in the mirror. "Oh, you're home early." "Yeah," I said, setting the groceries down. "You called Rick again?" "Yeah. Faucet's leaking." "Again?" "Right. Of course it was. Funny thing, that faucet. It only leaked when I wasn't around. Never on Sundays. Never when we had guests. Only when Ashley was home alone, in her yoga pants, waiting for Rick. But like I said, back then, I didn't know. Not yet. I'd find out soon, though. Not from a confrontation. Not from a tearful confession. No, fate had something much better planned. It came in 3 parts. And in part 3, I discovered just how much one man could hide under the guise of fixing a leak. Rick showed up that Saturday. I didn't call him. Ashley did, again. Said she was going to her sister's for the weekend. Girls' wine night, she called it, with a wink that used to mean something. I nodded, played dumb, gave her a kiss on the cheek that landed on air. I waited exactly 38 minutes after she left. Then I called Rick myself. "Hey, this is Logan. Faucet in the kitchen's leaking again. You've worked on it before." A pause, then a casual, almost too familiar chuckle on the other end. "Oh yeah, man. I know the place." "I bet you do, Rick." I scheduled him for noon the next day. And then I did something petty. Real petty. I put a fresh bar of soap on the kitchen sink. I lined the guest towel just right. And I set up a camera, a small black cube hidden in a cookbook stand, angled directly at the sink. It wasn't illegal. It was my house. My kitchen. My faucet. And I had a feeling Rick had been overcharging. Sure enough, Sunday afternoon, his van pulled up. Big white thing, one of those cargo types with faded lettering on the side. Waterworks Plumbing Solutions. Like the name of a second-tier adult film. He stepped out wearing navy coveralls and sunglasses. He was exactly what I expected. Beard stubble just long enough to say bad boy, but not long enough to say unemployed. Big arms. Tan lines around the neck. Tattoos. Probably quotes he didn't read in the original language. He walked in like he'd been here before, because he had. Didn't even ask where the kitchen was. I kept it polite. Cold, but polite. He went under the sink, rattled some tools, made a big show of tightening a pipe that wasn't even dripping. I watched from the living room with a book I wasn't reading. Then, out of habit, he did something strange. He reached into the side pocket of his bag and pulled out a bottle of red wine. Set it on the counter. Chilled. Like it had been prepped. I said nothing. Just watched. When he finally finished pretending to fix something, he smiled. All done, he said, wiping his hands. Should hold this time. I nodded. You always fix it just right, don't you? He looked up, squinting like he didn't catch it. Sorry. Nothing. He packed up, left the wine, and walked out like a man who thought he'd just passed a test he didn't know he was taking. I waited 5 minutes, then pulled the memory card from the camera. Later that night, in the quiet of an empty house, I watched the footage. He was comfortable in my kitchen. Too comfortable. He didn't just fix the faucet, he adjusted the spice rack, like he had a favorite. He opened the fridge like he was looking for something. He took a call, and on it, I heard a voice on speaker. You at the house? His response? Yeah. The usual leak. And the wine's already out. The usual leak. Wine already out. That's when the ground shifted. That's when I knew it wasn't just Chase. There was another one. Rick had been showing up for months. While I was at work. While I was out running errands. While Ashley moaned about home improvement stress and told me we couldn't afford a new couch. She wasn't after improvements. She was after distractions. And suddenly, everything made sense. The jokes. The hints. The casual shrugs when I said we should switch plumbing services. That little smirk she gave when I said I could fix it myself next time. She wasn't hiding it well anymore, because she thought I'd never look. But now I had eyes. And they were wide open. And Rick? Well, he'd be back. He just didn't know what kind of leak he was walking into next time. Monday morning. Ashley came home smelling like someone else's weekend. She had that post-girls' night glow, except I knew her sister was in Napa, not the cabin she claimed. I let her talk. She filled the room with rehearsed laughter and vague stories. There was a wine tasting, a flat tire, a lost phone charger. The kind of details you throw in when you're lying and trying too hard not to sound like it. I nodded, sipped my coffee, and watched her like a man watching the last act of a play he already knows the ending to. And then I pulled the thread. By the way, I said casually, called Rick yesterday. Her spoon froze mid-stir in her yogurt. What? The faucet. It was leaking again. Thought I'd save you the call. She blinked. Oh. Yeah? I didn't think it was still leaking. No, it was. He came by around noon. Nice guy. The silence after that sentence was a canyon. She nodded slowly, tried to act neutral. Oh. Okay. I wanted to laugh. She was so bad at hiding things now. I mean, Rick? She had the subtlety of a fireworks stand in a drought zone. But I played it cool. Gave her space. Let her believe I was just the same old Logan. Naive. Soft. Steady. That night, after she fell asleep, I opened her laptop. No password. Which says a lot about how little she feared getting caught. I searched for messages. Emails. Tabs. Nothing. She was cleaner than Chase had been. But she wasn't smarter. She'd forgotten the synced phone backup. Buried in the cloud? A folder of saved voicemails. And in it? A message labeled, Fixing the Drip, February 11th. I hit play. Hey, Ash. Just heading over now. Got the wine. Hope you left the back door open like last time. Oh, and wear that red thing again. I'll fix the faucet, nice and slow. The voice? Rick. The plumber. That was the moment. Not the audio. Not even the pathetic pun. It was her laugh at the end of the message. A soft, warm giggle. When I hadn't heard from her in months, maybe years. She used to laugh like that with me. Now she used it for a man who replaced gaskets for a living and apparently thought foreplay included pipe wrenches. My jaw clenched. My knuckles turned white against the trackpad. But I didn't explode. No, that would have been too easy. Too predictable. Instead, I sat back and smiled. Because that voicemail? That was admissible. And I knew just the person who'd be very interested in hearing it. It's funny what betrayal teaches you. Most people think it shatters you. That it turns you into some trembling mess curled up on the floor, whispering, why me? Into a bottle of whiskey. Maybe that's true for some. But for me, it clarified everything. That night, after I heard Rick's voice in that voicemail, everything became sharp. Clean. I saw my life not as something falling apart, but as a project. Something to be remodeled. And I wasn't just going to patch a leak. I was going to redesign the whole damn system. I didn't confront Ashley. No shouting. No tearful blow-up. She was expecting that. I could see it in her eyes the next morning, waiting for the moment I'd break. But I didn't. I handed her coffee with a smile, kissed her cheek, and asked if she wanted sushi Friday night. She blinked, confused. Smiled nervously. Sure, that sounds good. Perfect. I spent the rest of that week preparing. First, I called in a favor. An old friend from college, Ava. A lawyer now. Sharp as broken glass and twice as dangerous. She wasn't just in the business of dissolving marriages. She specialized in surgical extractions, of assets, of reputations, of facades. You got evidence? She asked, already pulling up her notes. Voicemails, footage, messages, timelines. Her eyes narrowed. Good. Then let's do this with style. Next, the camera. I repositioned it. Same spot in the kitchen, but now connected to a live feed. Stored automatically to cloud storage I controlled. Motion triggered. Audio capturing. Timestamped. I didn't just want more footage. I wanted irrefutable footage. So on Thursday, I told Ashley I'd be working late. Big presentation. Lot of prep. Might even crash at my buddy Tyler's. Her response? Oh, okay. Be safe. No protest. No curiosity. Not even a fake offer to bring me dinner. She was practically waving me out the door like a cruise director on departure day. I drove down the street, turned the corner, and parked. Waited. Camera rolling. At 6:42 p.m., Rick's Finn pulled into my driveway. At 6:45, he used the back door. She left it unlocked. At 6:49, the lights in the kitchen dimmed. At 6:52, they toasted with the bottle of wine he'd brought over just in case. Merlot. Same brand he left the last time. And at 6:59, Ashley leaned over, touched his chest, and whispered, loud enough for the mic to catch. You always come when the pipes get tight. Honestly, it was so stupid, I almost felt embarrassed for both of them. Almost. But then came the moment I was waiting for. Rick pulled out his phone. He started recording her, some weird slow-mo video like he was directing an indie film no one asked for. He narrated into his camera, Client Appreciation Week. Baby. Plumbing perks. Disgusting. But useful. Because now it wasn't just infidelity. It was documentation. Exploitation. A whole new layer of leverage. I let the recording run its course. When Rick finally left, about an hour later, Ashley walked him out barefoot, laughing like someone without a single care in the world. And that's when I called Ava again. Got it, I said. Everything. Everything. And then some. She didn't ask what I meant. She just said, time to schedule a meeting. And Logan. Yeah. Wear a suit. But bring a camera. The next morning, I scheduled a service request. Plumbing issue. Urgent. Same company. Same number. I requested Rick directly. Rick knows our system, I told the girl on the phone. He's practically family at this point. She laughed. He's a busy guy, but I'll put in the request. Then I called Ava. Told her to meet me at home. She showed up in all black, heels like stilettos, briefcase in one hand, and fire in her eyes. This the guy? Yep. She looked around the house. I want to be in the room when he walks in. He'll recognize you. She smiled. Good. Let him. We set up a small recording setup in the living room. 2 chairs. Coffee table. My phone already streaming to a secure server. And at exactly 11 a.m., the doorbell rang. Rick. In uniform. Smiling like a man who just won a game he didn't even realize he was playing. Logan, he said, stepping in. Didn't expect to see you. Thought you had work today. I rescheduled, I said. Turns out, the leak was a little more personal. He frowned, then noticed Ava. Hi. She stood, extended a hand. Ava Monroe. Legal counsel. His face paled. He looked back at me. What's going on? I gestured to the camera. You're being recorded. For your protection, of course. We wouldn't want anything taken out of context. He blinked, confused. Is this a joke? Nope. Ava sat down, opened her case, and began laying out the evidence. Screenshots. Audio files. Video clips. And the final cherry? The footage of him recording Ashley. Complete with date, time, and GPS-tagged metadata from his own phone. Rick went quiet. Very quiet. Ava didn't. Here's what's going to happen, she said. You're going to sign a sworn statement confirming the relationship. You're going to admit to the timeline. And you're going to give us access to any communication between you and Ashley related to these visits. Or what, he croaked. Or we file civil charges. Misconduct. Potential harassment. Distribution of private content without consent. And we send the footage to your employer. Oh, and Ashley's HR department. Because yes, Rick, she's still on payroll. He blinked, sweating now. I leaned forward. And for what it's worth, I added, your plumbing skills are garbage. He signed. We got everything. And then Ava dropped the real bomb. We'll be seeing your boss next. Oh, and by the way, the faucet? It was never leaking. Ashley got home that night a little later than usual. She walked in carrying one of those oversized handbags women use when they're carrying either groceries, secrets, or guilt. She kissed the air near my cheek, tossed her keys in the bowl, and kicked off her heels like someone who owned the place. She didn't. Not anymore. Everything okay? She asked, her voice a little too bright. I smiled. Better than ever. That worried her. She squinted, watching me stir the pasta on the stove. I rarely cooked. She knew that. Suspicion flickered behind her eyes, but she swallowed it. That's the thing about liars. They're only good at lying to other people. They're awful at spotting it when someone lies back. We ate in silence. Well, I ate. She picked at her plate like it was poisoned, trying to gauge my mood with every bite. I stayed calm, smooth, not a single crack. Because you don't let a house of cards collapse. You pull the right one and watch. I got a weird call today, she said finally, after the fourth bite. Oh yeah, I said. From who? She blinked. My supervisor. Everything okay at work? She said someone sent in a file. I wiped my mouth. Weird. Ashley stared. She said it had video clips. And a transcript. Said they have to open an investigation. I nodded thoughtfully. Probably some spam. You know how people are. She narrowed her eyes. And that's when the doorbell rang. Not just good timing orchestration. Were you expecting someone? She asked. I was, I said, standing. Ashley followed, cautious now. She always got nervous around the unknown. Unfortunately for her, the unknown had high heels and a war plan. I opened the door. Ava stepped in. But not like before, not with a briefcase and legal documents. This time, she wore a black dress. Not scandalous, but sharp. Measured. The kind of dress that says I know exactly how much power I have, and I brought just enough to ruin your evening. Ashley's face contorted. Who is this? Ava, I said. This is Ashley, my wife. Ashley, this is Ava, my date. Ashley's mouth dropped. You're what? Ava smiled like a cat that smelled blood. He didn't tell you? Logan and I have been spending a lot of time together. That's not possible, Ashley said, shaking her head. You're his lawyer. Ava raised an eyebrow. I was. Then I decided he deserved better. So now I'm his. Everything else. Ashley turned to me, voice climbing. You hired her just to hurt me? No, I said, calmly. I hired her to help me leave you. The hurting part? That's just a fun side effect. Ashley actually stepped back, breath catching. You're joking. Do I look like I'm joking? Her voice turned small. You're ending our marriage. Over a few mistakes? That's when Ava stepped forward. Oh, honey, she said sweetly, he's not ending it because you cheated. He's ending it because you got sloppy, boring, and careless. And you brought a plumber into your bedroom like this was a low-budget sitcom. Ashley's jaw tensed. This isn't any of your business. It is now, Ava replied. Because I'm the one who handled the evidence, the documents, the strategy. And now? I'm the one sitting in the front row while your life unravels. I crossed my arms. Ashley, I said, I gave you chances. I gave you space. I gave you me. And you gave me a faucet that somehow leaked every time I left the house and a plumber who thinks foreplay starts with a wrench. She started, but I cut her off. You brought a man into our home, Ashley. Into our kitchen. You drank wine with him while I was breaking my back to keep this roof over your head. And you laughed behind my back while telling him what a poor, predictable man I was. I didn't mean it like that, she whispered. Ava smirked. You meant every word. Don't insult us both by pretending you didn't. Ashley turned toward me, eyes glassy now. So what now? You're just going to leave? With her? No, I said. I'm not leaving. Her brow furrowed. You are. Ashley laughed, bitter and forced. You can't throw me out of my own house. Technically, Ava said, holding up her phone, we can. Because Logan filed an injunction this morning. With the footage, the messages, and your employer's ethics clause, he's entitled to exclusive occupancy until the proceedings are over. Which, by the way, you should get a lawyer for. Fast. Ashley's face crumpled. You're bluffing. I walked to the kitchen drawer. Pulled out a folder. Dropped it on the table. The top page? a copy of the restraining order. The second page, a copy of the HR complaint. The third, a notarized copy of her confession, signed by Rick. Her hands shook as she flipped through them. "You set me up," she whispered. "No," I said. "You set yourself up. I just hit record." She sank into a chair. And that's when Ava delivered the final line. Like a queen dropping her opponent's king in checkmate. "You thought Logan was a placeholder. But he's a builder. And builders? They know exactly how to tear down what doesn't serve them, without even breaking a sweat." Ashley looked up at me, her voice barely audible. "Do you still love me?" I didn't blink. "No." She flinched like it was a slap. But I wasn't done. Love doesn't survive mockery. Or wine-soaked betrayal. Or plumbers with keychains shaped like hearts. She stood, quietly. Numb. "Where am I supposed to go?" I looked at Ava. She handed Ashley an envelope. Inside, hotel vouchers, a storage key, and a one-way bus ticket. Ashley took it with trembling fingers. Ava smiled. "Good luck, sweetheart. Next time, pick a man who doesn't know how to use a camera." Ashley left without another word. The door clicked shut behind her. And the house was finally quiet. Turns out, Rick wasn't just a homewrecker. He was a hustler. After Ava dug deeper, legal records, prior complaints, even a shady alias or two, we learned Rick had done this before. Not just the cheating. He had a little side hustle, blackmail. Record a few compromising clips, threaten exposure, and boom, cash payout. Mostly women. One guy. Ashley had been just another notch on a worn-out wrench. So, I played my final card. I forwarded the video of Rick recording Ashley to a woman named Monique, his fiancée. Yes, the man who oiled up his elbows in other people's marriages was engaged. That call went about how you'd expect, screaming, sobbing, threats. But most importantly, Monique sent me Rick's address and work schedule. Ava smiled when I showed her. Let's ruin his whole calendar. Ava didn't believe in revenge. She believed in consequences. We filed a formal complaint with Rick's licensing board, including the footage, and shared it anonymously with a consumer watchdog blog that loved exposés. By the end of the week, his face was plastered all over social media. The Casanova Plumber, with side-by-side screenshots of wine, faucets, and very married women. He lost his license. His van was vandalized. Monique left him. And as for Ashley, she got demoted. Her firm launched an ethics investigation. HR wasn't pleased with footage of her personal appointments during business hours. She called me 3 times in a week. Left one message. "You win." But it wasn't about winning. It was about ending it. All of it. After the storm cleared, there was quiet. The kind that doesn't ask for attention. The kind you earn. I spent weeks rebuilding. Not the house, the man. Started working out again. Took a solo trip to the coast. Even started writing again, something I hadn't touched in years. One night, I ran into someone at a bookstore. Not Ashley. Rachel. Her sister. She looked surprised, but not awkward. We got coffee. Talked. Laughed. She told me she tried to talk Ashley out of it months ago. She was chasing excitement, Rachel said. Didn't realize stability was the treasure. I nodded. I did. And she mistook it for boredom. A month later, Chase reached out. Yes, that Chase. "Can we talk?" Man to man. I met him at a quiet cafe. He looked like a ghost, less smug, more tired. "She's not who I thought," he said. I sipped my coffee. "Neither were you." He paused, then added, "I think I made a mistake." I looked him in the eye. "Yeah, so did she." He left without finishing his drink. Somewhere in that silence, I found something I didn't expect. Not gloating. Not victory. Just peace. Because sometimes, the best revenge is being fine when they expected you to be broken. Ashley emailed me one last time. Said she was alone. Chase was gone. Rick had exposed her. Her friends had turned their backs. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She asked to talk. I didn't reply. Because she didn't want me, she wanted the version of me that hadn't learned to live without her yet. But that man? He left the day she handed Rick the wine and left the door unlocked. Now, I sleep like a baby. My faucet doesn't leak anymore. And I only let people in the house who come through the front door with integrity. As for Ava, let's just say she hasn't left.